What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Kung Fu Episode 1 breakdown, review and recap. The show is an adaptation of the 70s TV show of the same name, starring David Carradine, the legendary actor who is sadly no longer with us. The themes of a murdered master and chasing the assailant across to America are the same, but the rest, including the family drama, are wildly different. We follow Nikki, an American who went to visit China only to learn her mother set her up on a matchmaking scheme to meet a Chinese husband, and upon learning this, she dipped. She met a woman from the Shaolin monastery and ran away and trained under Pei Ling to become a martial arts master. She spent 3 years there and is pushed to go back home, and I really like the message that she isn't the only one with a terrible family or family problems. However, later people have attacked the monastery, and a woman known as Zealand came to take a sword that Nikki's mentor had been protecting and was killed, and told Nikki to protect it, and almost died trying to get it back from Zealand. She seemingly knows a lot more about the monastery and the sword than Nikki, and Nikki can't even hold that sword as it burns her. After this, she heads back to San Francisco and the family she abandoned 3 years ago. Personally, I thought the opening was really good and really strong with the monastery and such, but the family part seemed far too CW, and I feel like it would have been much better if she had to traverse around China looking for her master's killer and these 8 weapons. We learn her sister is getting married, and she sees her brother Ryan, who is incredibly upset for her for leaving and running off to train at a monastery. We also have a really awkward moment with her mother, who wished she had just said something if she thought her life was so miserable, but Nikki felt really betrayed by her by engineering her breakup with her ex, who she then goes to see, who I must say, that bike lycra gear looks so ridiculous, especially with the shoes. Now, it's Orcs as she split up with him and she speaks to him about the murder, and he thinks that she's only come to him to ask for help. She explains that she went to the police and such, but they seemed scared by the name that she mentioned, and that it was a dead end, leading her to come back here. Now, just as this, his current girlfriend comes in. However, the main story of the episode kicks in as her father is beaten half to death, and she runs off to save him, and she heads to see her brother at the community centre, and also meets Henry, a history student who, from what I gathered, is actually hitting on Nikki, which was funny, especially with Ryan's reaction as they go off to play ping pong. It turns out the reason for Ryan being so angry that Nikki left was because he's gay, and he came out to his family and had no support from them whatsoever, and Nikki was the only one who knew everything, and all of this was exacerbated by the star pupil Nikki going away. We then got some more info about the sword, and it turns out it is a sacred sword used by a woman in a village to fend off attackers when the men went off to war, and can only be wielded by the rightful owner, and is also part of many different magical swords thought to be lost. The reason for her father's beatings was a loan shark called Tony lent the mother the money due to rising rents, and she thought that she could trust him, only for him to double the payment behind her back, and the father was trying to pay this off. But we then have the siblings try to stop this and even recruit her ex after finding out he has an open case on him as well. Nikki also shows off her fighting skills, which looked stunning as they go around the town trying to look for Tony, to no avail. But they do speak to a woman who is actually a victim of Tony as well, and they try and start this whole investigation with her ex there. It was very clunky, that whole story, I thought. But Nikki speaking to her mother about the dream life of going to the USA after learning they were investigating Tony was pretty cool, as we see it from both sides. But eventually they look into the files on Tony, and her sister hacked into his bank accounts to learn that he has a big deal going on near the docks. Now, Tony felt pretty vapid and empty and not really much of a threat, as we don't even hear him speak. He didn't even have a villain monologue, but he just felt like a cardboard cutout villain. Stupidly, Ryan heads down to the docks to investigate, only to get spotted, but luckily Nikki is there as we have a showdown with Tony on the roof, and my god, it was cheesy seeing all the visions as she is wrecked on the floor, and she goes ham to kind of kick his ass with a stick, which looked really cool admittedly, as he is defeated and the family can have the wedding when Nikki learns that the person who has the 8 weapons can become supremely powerful like some sort of Kung Fu Thanos. Clearly this is what the assailant wants and she needs to track her down. Overall it was pretty serviceable, and the involvement of the ex and the siblings were the weakest parts, but only because the rest of the mythology looked really interesting. Overall I thought it was a pretty cool show. Yes, it did have the CW effect, and it seems like CW are just obsessed with rebooting things with Charmed, Walker Texas Ranger. We're going to have Powerpuff Girls as well. And what next is going to happen? We're going to have a moody Winnie the Pooh going down where he's addicted to some kind of drug called honey. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I will be bringing this weekly to you. They'll be a bit shorter than my other breakdowns because there's not that much to talk about, but overall, pretty decent. Please do drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe with notifications on if you want more from us, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.